We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about why a cold front might just be the very best thing you can hope for when it comes to fall bass fishing. Sounds crazy? Well, stick around and I'll explain everything. There we go, I got him. Let me turn that off. I told you, swim bait. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And, you know, for most everybody, they hate cold fronts coming through and messing up the fishing, don't they? Especially in the spring and the early summer. You just get into a pattern, you just get into a rhythm, those fish are starting to come out of their funk, and bam, here comes a cold front, messing up everything, throwing those bass into a spin for 3 to 4 days, up to a week, until things kind of even out. Nobody likes it when that happens. But right now, in the fall time, especially in the late fall time and going into the winter, a cold front is actually a good thing. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to explain why. Because, you know, last night we had a severe cold front come through South Mississippi. Well, severe for us. There was a thick layer of frost on my truck this morning. That never happens in early November. We don't get frost here until late December, early January. And, you know, only a couple of nights out of the entire year. But early November, we had a hard frost as those temperatures dipped into the upper 20s. I know the rest of the country also had sub-freezing temperatures. So it basically swept across the entire country. But I'm here to tell you that that can be a very good thing. Because what it does is, it essentially hits the reset button. See, those bass are already getting acclimated to colder weather. But the crazy weather we've been having lately with the wind and all the clouds and everything swirling around, well, it makes it difficult for those bass to set up and find consistency. And if the bass can't find consistency, well, then they're less liable to be active and less liable to bite. Now today, we had bluebird skies, we had just a little bit of wind. And while that temperature was cool and that water was cold, I knew exactly where to find those bass. See, that cold front, when it blew through and reset everything, it took the mystery out of trying to locate where those bass were. We knew they're going to be sluggish, but now we know with that sun out, they're going to be clustered up on those hard structure objects, especially objects that hold heat and retain heat. Darker objects will do better than lighter objects. A dark rock will hold better heat and radiate it out through the day more than concrete. But it can still be done. If you can find some busted up pieces of concrete like we have up here at the Big Lake, you know, those are great pretty much all day. But a dark pile of rocks, that will be the best thing that you can do. You know, a riprap bank, you know, on the edge of a dam line or under a bridge or something like that, that's facing that southern side, right? On the northern bank facing toward the south, that can be gold. That can be a money spot all day as that heat radiates off of that rock, you know, off of that structure out into the water. You can find dozens and hundreds of bass clustered up on that. So today, I put my money where my mouth is. I fished the baits that I said I was going to fish, and I fished them in places that I talked about fishing and trying to confirm the things that we were talking about as we go out on the water. And like I said, after that cold front came through last night, I knew today was going to be the perfect opportunity for it. Because catching fish after a cold front can be really, really easy because you can locate them. And if you're willing to slow down, well, then that's most of the battle, right? You know where those bass are, and you know how to catch them. You know how to slow down. So that makes things so much easier. And, well, today was a pretty successful day out on the water, I gotta say. So we're going to head out on the water here in just a minute, and we're going to talk about the spots that I was targeting and how I was fishing them. But first, I'm going to show you the baits that I was using to target those areas. And they were the same baits that I'm always using right now. You know, we've got this wacky rig worm on a finesse setup, 10-pound braid, 7-foot medium light rod. And this did great work for me today, as I knew it would. Had to fish it even slower than normal, but you're not going to hurry a wacky rig anyway. And I did a wacky rig, no weight on it at all. Fortunately, the wind cooperated for the most part today, and I was able to let it sink down and get a little bit deeper. Now, another bait, another one I've been talking about quite a lot lately, a weightless fluke. This is something else that I was able to work around. Again, this was popped and jerked slowly around those other piles of structure that may have been a little bit deeper in the vegetation. Whenever I didn't want to use the wacky rig because, you know, there was still quite a bit of hydrilla and it's still quite a bit emergent here. It's not going to die back for a while yet. So I pulled this out and I was able to have a good bit of success with this, you know. And today we've got it on the fluorocarbon reel. Now, normally I would be fishing those spots with braid, but my braid setup had the Texas rig. Again, not a big surprise to anybody who watches the channel. Obviously, I'm going to have a Texas rig, 1/4 ounce weight that's not pegged, you know, 5-inch stick bait. I make these myself. And I've got 30-pound braid, and I go to a 17-pound fluorocarbon leader. And this is what I use coming through that really thick vegetation. And I opted to use the braid with this rather than the weightless jerkbait, because this is going to be more of a bottom bouncing technique. I'm going to be deeper in that vegetation, so I figured the braid would be better to saw through it. And it did. It worked really well. But we've got the star of the show, the bait that actually proved its mettle today, and that is this little swim bait, this little Yum Scottsboro swim bait on a 1/8 ounce jig head. This was the star of the show, and I was able to fish some sun-baked humps. They were just under the water, a couple of feet under the water, but they were still high enough in the water column that the sun could warm them up all day. And those fish will use whatever they can use to keep warm. If it's bare bottom that's warming up on a hump, they will do that. If it's a pile of vegetation that's warming them up, they will do that. They'll use whatever they can. So find those warmer spots in the vegetation. And on a day like today, well, that was actually pretty easy to do. So, you know, enough of my yammering. I said we're going to head out on the water, and I'm going to show you just exactly what I'm talking about, the spots I was looking for, the way I was targeting them, and the success I had. So let's head out on the water, and I'll show you just exactly what I did. Now, when it comes to fishing, you know, post-cold front, in the fall when temperatures can really drop, you know, we're not getting cutesy with it. This is the sun-drenched bank. This is the northern bank. This is what I'm going to be targeting, because the thing that I like about fishing on those post-front days is it can cause those bass to set up real predictable. They're going to be very predictable because they're looking for warmth. And with the sun out, they're going to be heading to those sun-bathed areas. So you got a bluebird sky, you might have a little bit of wind. What you need to be looking for, focusing on, are places where that sun is going to warm up that bank. Boy, that was a turtle right there. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not getting cutesy with it. We're just doing a wacky rigged worm. You know, I'm not getting fancy. I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. Today is the day to be low and slow. Let that worm go down, let it sit, pop it a couple of times, you know, let it go down, let it sit, rinse and repeat. And if you're willing to fish slow enough, you know, you definitely will be rewarded. But this is, you can see here, I've got plenty of laydowns. I got places where the sun is going to be warming up that water, and that's what I'm targeting. And we're just going to toss that old wacky rig right in there and let it do the work for us. Just going to let it slow, you know, that slow fall. Not getting in any hurry. Letting it do what it wants to do. Work it just a little bit. These are the types of places that we're looking for. You know, there's not a lot of current flowing through here. And the places you want to target first, especially if you're starting in the morning, is on the west side. That over there. All that is in the sun. You see that, how bright, that's in the sun? So on this west side, in the north corner. So northwest side, that's where you want to start. Eastern banks, don't even worry about them. They could be holding fish, don't get me wrong. They could definitely be holding fish. But your best chance, your highest probability, the high probability areas, the high percentage areas are going to be along the sun-drenched banks, looking for areas where the sun can warm something up, your rock piles, your seawalls, if you've got a gravel bottom, something like that, the fish will use whatever they can. If there's whatever is there that can hold some heat, that's what those fish are going to be locked into. And on a day like today, a super slow presentation and a very gentle hand, that is going to be your best friend. A lot of dead sticking. This is where we're putting together everything that we've been talking about. Everything that we've been talking about as far as slowing things down, finding the places where they have warmth, those are going to be the tricks and the tips. That's going to be, oh, got him. See, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? He's a little bitty guy, but he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Exactly where he was supposed to be. And boy, is he cold. Let's see here. Oh, he got it down there. This is going to take me just a second to get it out of his mouth. But you see, that hook is way down in there. So, nice and slow. Nice and slow wins the race. So, like I said, today's where we put all the tips and tricks I've been talking about. Fishing slow, looking for that sun-drenched bank. That's, this is what the result of that's going to be. Well, let's get him back in the water. So, thank you, little buddy. Appreciate that. Alright, let's go on to the next one. Catch some more. Now, another thing that you can do is you find a spot here. I'm out here in the middle of the sun. This is a little bit deeper water. It's been out in the sun since the early morning. And I'm going to work this with a small swim bait. And, that's a good spot to do if you want to fish a little bit deeper. And that's a great way to try to get some of those deeper fish. Again, they're going to be seeking that warmth. And we're just going to slow roll that swim bait. Almost, belly dragging it across the bottom. We don't want it to rub the bottom, but we want to stay just above the bottom. Let it pendulum down. And, whenever the sun is hitting this water, it's going to warm up. So, you can drag a small swim bait. I've got a little, this is just a little Scottsboro swim bait that I've got right here. And we're going to let it sink down, let it do its thing. And just slow roll it. Nice and slow. We're not going to get in any hurry with it. That's all I'm doing. I can feel the vegetation on the bottom. I'm going to let it tick that vegetation. But that's all I'm doing with it. Nice and slow, nice and steady. We've got just a little bit of wind out here today. This water through here is not exceptionally deep. In fact, it's pretty shallow for the most part. There we go, I got him. Let me turn that off. I told you. Swim bait Got him right in the top of the mouth. They like to set up right out here. Right out here in the sun. And look at that. Right in the top of the mouth. Got him good. There's just something about this point they like to set up off of. Come on now. Boy, had him good. He wasn't going anywhere. Beautiful, beautiful ice cold fish. Beautiful fish. Gorgeous fish. £1.25, £1.50. Nice bass. Thank you for playing, little buddy. We sure do appreciate that. So there you have it. Fishing after a cold front in the mid to late fall can be the best time to fish. It takes all the mystery out of it. You know exactly where those fish are going to be setting up, and you know exactly the baits and presentations that they're going to be attracted to. Chances are you can have some of your best fishing days all fall and winter after post-frontal conditions. Give it a try. I'm sure you'll have great success. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.